Welcome back to the interview stage here at Women in Tech 2022. I hope you guys have enjoyed the day and the focus sessions. I'm sitting here with Bright Act, Sofia Wahlström och Elinor Samuelsson. And first, could you give us an elevator pitch? What is Bright Act?
Bright Act is a global support network for like domestic violence. So you can find whatever you need, wherever you are, the kind of support that you need.
Tech against abuse. I thought that was a pretty good slogan. And I just found out, like literally 20 seconds ago, that you guys started Bright Act without ever meeting.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Can you
we
tell
actually
us?
met on a hackathon. So, and everything was online since we were in the middle of a pandemic. So I found Elinor in the hackathon when I came in with the idea, and I chased her like crazy because she's a UX designer. And it took more than 6 months before we met in real life. And we actually started the company without even meeting. We just realized we have the same values and we can do this no matter where we are in the world.
And we also found out that I'm really tall and Sophie is not.
Surprise!
You had no idea. This is better than a blind date. But you said that you share the common values, but what made you guys start Bright Act? Like, what did you guys see that you felt like you could fix with technology?
Yeah, I used to work within the public sector, and from Elinor's background with the UX design, we realized we can combine this and actually go. Because I saw some gaps within the public sector, and Elinor is really good with the user experience, how to solve them. So this is why.
And then also with the pandemic, like domestic violence is a big shadow pandemic, and the violence has been increasing quite a lot. It's became a more urgent problem to solve. More people needing help. There's a need to actually use technology in a data-driven way to understand the cycles of the abuse and guide people to the right kind of support.
I feel like domestic violence is a sort of abuse that's kind of been left in the shadow, but I definitely agree that during the pandemic we spoke more about it, not just positively, just because, the increase of numbers and cases. So I'm curious to see what kind of response have you gotten and have that changed during the pandemic?
There's quite a lot of people that start crying, like when they meet us, because they get quite moved by this topic. From the help organizations, they're just applauding us. They're just like, "Oh, thank you. Where have you been?" And they also need support, when it comes to safe technology, user-friendly types of technology, because most of them are volunteer organizations. And from the public sector, we're innovating together with them. So. They're telling us what they need, and then we build it, which they're also not used to, because that's not usually how bigger companies work with the public sector.
Yeah. And it's a tricky target group you guys have, but you also want to make a product that is spot on, that's actually helping the people that are being affected, but it's also tricky, both hard to reach this group and also have them talk about this. How have you worked around that matter, like reaching them, having people share their experience, having them comment on your products, etc.? And how has that been for you guys as well to put the foundation and structure around the ethical issues that you face?
Yeah, they usually find us, actually.
Okay.
So many of the times they are looking for information online to understand their situation, to understand the issue, if they're really subjected or not. That's one of the most common questions. Am I subjected? Because it's really wide spectrum of domestic violence. It's not like being hit. Yeah, that's domestic violence, but also being controlled, not having control over your cards or money, or not having to meet your friends and so on. So they start to figure out something is happening, and I need to understand what is happening. So usually they contact us, and sometimes we go through help organizations to find the right kind of people, and then they actually test the products with us to see what kind of support they need, how can we develop what they need, so it's actually more adjusted to the target group. But we also talk to the public sector and civic organizations to understand what kind of stuff are people asking for. And we go through them to spread the word. So For example, we could go through the municipalities to actually find the people that need support.
Amazing. And today's a big day for you guys. You are launching something. Tell us a little bit more.
We're kind of joking about it because we're like launching like the yellow pages, but it's like the orange pages that is for like domestic violence. So organizations and like the public sector actually can go in and create profiles, and then we match their support with the kind of support that you would want, like seeking violence. So this is something that we're launching today, which is the little baby embryo of like, these coming modules that we have that will build upon that.
Yeah, and it's free to register, so no cost for anyone. So this is how we get spread as well, because everybody has something to help with. So, and as long as they can spread the word, they can help someone.
So we've talked a lot about how you guys support other people. How can somebody support Bright Act?
In so many ways. We usually have we need brains. That's it. We need smart people that can help us figure out hard questions. We need people to spread the word, because everybody knows someone. Because like in the global world, 1 in 3 women are subjected. So like how many women do you know? 1 in 6 men are subjected. How many men do you know? So just like backtrack to your own community and understand how many people can be subjected.
Thank you very much. Sofie Wahlström and Elinor Samuelsson from Bright Act Tech Against Abuse. It's been an amazing day so far, and I've mentioned before we have a big audience here, so we've asked the people in the audience what they think about today's conference. Take a look.
It's amazing being here, honestly, and it's inspiring, of course, being here with all those women in tech. However, reminding me how important it is for us to all bring more women into tech, and also having the women stay in tech, being there for joy, and also, staying there. So far, very, very good and inspiring.
I think this whole thing is great. Like, it's the first time I'm going to this conference, so I'm quite new, but it's so nice seeing so many women everywhere, and having been in a male-dominated world, it's nice seeing we do exist.
I think it's super inspiring. It's so cool to see so many great women in tech on stage here.
Yeah, it lifts me up and encourages me that, I did choose the right field. So, I would just love to say that it would be nice to see more women of color. Yes, we see women, but more women from underrepresented groups like ourselves.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think, as usual, this is just mind-blowing. It's a festival, it's a community, it's a gathering. And I'm especially proud of seeing some of my sisters from Diamo and Deka and those girls on set. It's been something that I've been envisioning, and finally we have a little bit more of a diversity focus, which is just amazing.
I am so happy that we got to hear some of the voices from the audience. And I am back here at the interview stage with some of our speakers. Let's start with Åsa Schwartz, Head of Business Development at Knowit Cybersecurity and Law. How are you?
I'm fine, and to be here is really, a different experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. It's been an amazing day. Yeah. And Sarah McCracken, welcome to you as well.
Thank you.
Åsa, if I start with you, you are also a crime novelist. You've written several books, and the last 2 were about artificial intelligence and hacker thriller. Yes. Can you share how you use a passion for writing to spreading knowledge?
Most of people think cybersecurity is quite boring, and it don't affect them. But I know a lot of people that really like a nice suspense novel. So I use my knowledge from cybersecurity in my daily work to just try to explain why it's so important.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing to do. But do you feel like people just think it's fiction, or do people understand, this is actually a possibility if we're not careful?
Most people really think that, I didn't realize this, and it is actually a possibility. And after a while, perhaps they start to change their passwords and thinking about how you handle your mobile phone and so on.
Yeah, I definitely need to change some of my passwords.
Don't tell anyone. Now everybody knows.
Sarah McCracken, you're founder and CEO of Angel Eye NI.
Yes.
For you, well, obviously, you're going to be on stage and you're going to tell us more about that. But can
Absolutely.
you give us a little bit of an elevator pitch for the people who are curious to what you do?
Well, yes, so Angel Eyes supports children and young people with visual impairment in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And I'm here to talk about a virtual reality visual impairment simulator that we've created. And that's really to demonstrate the impact of sight loss, to make services better for children and adults that have a visual impairment.
And when I met you yesterday briefly
Yes.
at a dinner, I asked you, oh, so have you been in the tech industry for long? And your response was?
I am not a tech person at all,
Yeah.
but I knew the solution was a digital one that I wanted. And
Yeah.
actually, technology is, the support that our children use to access the world. So it's something I'm quite familiar with because of the work that I do.
And I think that's one of the beautiful things as well, like that this industry is for people who've been in it for long, who people are new in industry, people who are innovative. It has room for everyone.
Absolutely.
And Åsa,
Yes.
you've been working with IT security since the 90s.
Yes,
How
I have.
How has the perception of what IT security is and the importance of it, how has it evolved during those decades? And, especially the last, can you say, like 6 months even?
Yeah. But when I started, people said like, why? Why do you work with security? It have to be really boring. And I said, are you kidding? This is the most funny thing you could do. And that continued for like 15 years. Nobody understood what I was doing. And now suddenly I am able to go to conferences like this and people are actually interested in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you see what's happened in the last 6 months, the interest for cybersecurity is great now.
Yeah.
And it's both good because people work with it, and it's a lousy reason.
Are everyday people understanding the damage and impact that cyber attacks could have on our daily life?
No, I don't think so. Many people think that, I have nothing to lose, I have no information or anything. And it's like, but your money, don't you have money? And then suddenly they realize, oh, shit, can I say that on television? Sorry.
you can definitely say that. Yeah, because definitely we don't have money in the mattress anymore. At least I
No.
don't. It's all numbers now.
And have you tried to be one day without your mail?
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't need. Yeah, that would be difficult.
Yeah.
Bank ID. You mentioned Bank ID
Yeah.
before. Like that would be even worse. That's everything. Every website in Sweden pretty much is connected
Yeah.
to Bank ID. But Sarah, you said that you weren't into tech, but you saw a solution or you saw a problem and you wanted to find a solution. What
Yeah.
inspired that?
The charity and the work that we do. My children are visually impaired, and I was frustrated that people didn't understand the impact of visual impairment. And actually, undersupport and oversupport are equally as damaging. I just wanted to get the right support. And visual impairment for children is such a low incidence disability. I really wanted to get a solution, and also time was ticking for my children. So I needed something quickly to solve the problem.
And you couldn't find anybody else, so you decided to do it yourself.
Do you know everything that I looked for? Because I did look to see. I thought one must be out there somewhere, and I did look to see. And everything that I saw online was for adults, because 96% of the global visually impaired community are adults that have lost their vision, which is a very different life experience from children that are born without vision. So there was nothing that met the needs of our community.
What kind of response have you gotten?
It's been transformational. So we've set up a social enterprise, Empathise, to exploit the commercial viability of it and thereby bringing an income back into the charity. But yeah, it's really given people in a very short time a really good understanding of what a visual and how complex it is. But also, I'm not telling health professionals what to do. They're adapting their own services to meet the needs because they've had immersive experience of a visual impairment.
Great. We also welcoming Narges Rahimi to the stage, co-founder of Shifo Foundation and founder and CEO of L'Africa.
Thank you, Leila.
We just had Sarah speak about how her own experience was the foundation to her work. And I want to know, how did you becoming a mother change your focus in your research and work?
How?
how did you becoming a mother change your focus in research and work?
Oh my gosh. That's a nice one. Well, you know, when you become a mother, you understand, you prioritize your child's health, and your child's health is your peace of mind. And when you know also that so many million people in especially low resource settings don't have that privilege, of course, for me, it was so natural to think how I can contribute to this peace of mind.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. We actually spoke a little bit backstage, and you mentioned that when people talk about health of children, they often talk about their physical health. And then when you became a mother, you were like, why aren't we talking about their mental health, like the impact that we can have on that? And you started speaking about a lot of emotional intelligence as well. Do you think emotional intelligence is prioritized in society today?
I think that there is a lot of room for improvement and for growth. And many don't know what emotional intelligence is. And there are so many reasons for that. And one of them is that we're raised the way we are raised. And but mental health is now a foundation in how we feel and how we can contribute positively to the society. That's why, and mental health happens to be one of the most neglected public health areas. That's what statistics shows. That's why, but it's one of the most cost-effective and sustainable ways for us to live, to feel well. If we feel well, we can be productive at home, at work, and in our communities.
I see how your co-panelists are nodding and agreeing here. And I do love how you all are spreading knowledge. Like you said, that how you decide to put your work into fiction to make it easier for people to get it. Like, you know, they're public speaking, they're starting an organization as well as the work. And I was also, you told me that every politician we have in the Swedish government got a copy of your book about cybersecurity, which I think is amazing. In case they didn't want to do the full-on research, they got it in a little bit of an easier way to take in the knowledge. What do you think about the knowledge and policies surrounding cybersecurity when it comes to government?
It's a big difference now if you compare 5 years ago. Because I don't think anyone cared really, or some specialists did, but not really. And now all politicians talk about security and cybersecurity.
So we're getting there.
Yes, we're getting there. So now everybody knows it is important, and now we just have to start working.
Yeah. We've also focused on about the importance of having role models. Sarah, do you think that your kids have had role models they could look up to when they were going in, meeting new challenges as visually impaired in the society?
They probably haven't had lots of role models that were visually impaired like them. We have provided through Angel Eyes, a community, a network of children. Very rarely would they meet another visually impaired child. It's such a low incidence disability. But I think the difference of having the charity and having the virtual reality visual impairment simulator means they haven't really been treated any differently. So they don't identify through their visual impairment. They identify who they are as people. And you know, you've touched on the mental health. And I think that is a huge issue, and it's very prevalent with children with a disability. But I honestly think that they aspire to the same things that we all do. And it's perfectly possible for them to do that.
And with your solutions as well, I can see how they will become the first generation of new role models today.
Of course, and my son was the first paperless pupil in Northern Ireland.
He was the first, sorry?
Paperless pupil, we
Okay.
called him, because he accesses everything through assistive technology, and that's how he accesses the curriculum and his exams. So, you know, cybersecurity and the technology world is definitely where he sees his future.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that also shows how important it is to have a good and strong parental support. And I guess you worked a bit normalizing parenting education and also prevention. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. You know,
You
when
were ready. You were like, absolutely.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
You know, when I now went through the journey of getting my hands on everything parenting and child development to develop Laprica's evidence-based parenting program, I once sat and said, oh my gosh, Nargis, of course you didn't know how to do it. But think that if we want to drive a car, the first thing that we think is we need to learn how to drive a car. If I want to be a good engineer, I'm thinking, okay, how can I be a good engineer? If I want to speak, I actually, Google maybe a TED Talk or whatever to say, how should I speak properly? I prepare, basically, right? But of course, we have a right to reproduce. We reproduce.
Yeah.
We become more. But then we think, okay, my mom and my grandma, they all have done it, and I will do it. But we don't think about it the same way as I have to consciously prepare myself for this motherhood.
Yeah.
To raise a human being that will be in front of me. And it can be anyone. Every child comes unique with their own personality traits. So I'm not going to parent an ideal child that I have in my mind, but that child that I have in front of me. So, and I realized how important it is to know how children develop, how their brains develop, how they form their behavior, what kind of strength I should find in my children, and so many other things. Then you know where you can focus and prioritize your time. So if you have 15 or 30 minutes a day in your busy schedule, you know exactly what pays the highest return on investment on your time. So that's why I really hope that one day we can say that parenting education will be so effective and accessible and affordable to everyone in the world, so that we don't have to pass on the unhealed things that we have as parents. Because as they say, you cannot do something that you haven't seen. You could be, we could be little girls and saying to our mom and dad, I would never do that. But then you find yourself doing the same thing.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so that's why I find I'm having a mission now to make sure that parents can get support. And it's never too early and never too late to start with a parenting education. I started when my daughter was 12. And now she's soon turning 16. And I benefited for all ages. And in a way, we designed the parenting program so that you have to reflect about your own childhood, because our childhood affects us, how we parent.
Really. And what you said there is we cannot do what we haven't seen or something. Was that the words you were using? I feel like that's also a little bit of a theme about women in tech in general, making sure that we can see ourselves being represented in everything that we are, not just as women, but when it comes to disabilities, when it comes to interests, when it comes to background, etc., etc.
Yes.
And you all three sitting here today are a proof of that as well in the work you do. And I'm looking forward to hearing you all on stage. I know there's some interesting things that you're all going to talk about, but this is the pre-chat. Generally, I've gotten the speakers after they've had their talks, and we can get into a little bit more deeper what they've talked about. But now it's more of a preview. Coming up next is Åsa, Sara, and Nargis. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this chat with me.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you, Leila.
Good
Thanks,
luck on
everyone.
stage.
Thank you.
We'll be back on the main stage in a little bit. Thank you.